All right, welcome Senior Home Business family. We really appreciate you being here. I'm Matt, this is Brittany, and today we're talking about entrepreneurship. Brittany, we always talk about senior placement. We talk about senior living in general, some different stories and things that have transpired over the years in senior living and keeping it relevant. This is 2026 and a lot of information. Sometimes we get on the internet. I've come across, Brittany, some cool videos. And man, they're like 10 years old. And it's like, man, people are just like dying on the vine. They're not talking about senior living as much. So we're going to keep that going on this channel. And if you want to know more about what Brittany and I do, you can drop down and click all the links down below, schedule a consultation call with me and watch a webinar and all that good stuff. But today we're going to talk about, the title of the video is why 95% of people talk about starting a business and never do. And Brittany, the reason I want to talk about this today, because I think it's a real thing that's out there. I know it was with me. I'm not sure with you. And we'll get into a little bit today about how you processed becoming an entrepreneur. But I know from about 2008, 2018, I wanted to be an entrepreneur so bad. And maybe I didn't want to be an entrepreneur that badly. I don't know. But I everything within me wanted to do it. And I would hear about these cool things people were doing. And I'm working a W-2. And I've said many times on this channel, I was fortunate to be a part of some really good companies, some really good employers. So not bagging them whatsoever, but I don't really think I was fulfilling my full potential in just doing those W-2 positions. And so finally in 2018, I made the leap, and that's where we're going to hopefully try to encourage you as the audience that's out there. If you are contemplating on starting a business, doing something on your own, I don't care if you're looking at it as a side hustle initially, but just doing something for you and what your passion is. I would encourage you just to dive in and do it. And we're going to talk about some of the obstacles and things, but talk real quickly, Brittany, if you can. How did you process this? I mean, there was a point that you just said, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And what got you there?
I think a lot of it was I don't think I thought about it too much. So that's
That's
probably
probably the best thing.
yeah, I didn't think about it too much. At the time I was working for an entrepreneur. So I think that helped a lot give me some insight on, small business in general and solopreneurship. So that was helpful. I think the main thing was I come from like an entrepreneurship background as far as my family goes. I have a lot of small businesses in my family. I never, for some reason, thought that I would go the route of being a small business owner. I had always seen myself in corporate America. That's kind of where I started my career in senior living, actually, in the corporate world. And, it was going that direction. But kind of what got me here is just mainly my passion, was just drove me to the point to say, like, I know that I love working with seniors. So for me specifically, it was just the drive of the passion. And I know that we've talked about this. And even when I saw your videos, Matt, a lot of it was you're doing like a disservice to not share the help you can give to the families. That was my driving point and what got me to just do it. Like, I knew the families needed help. I knew that this business could help people, whether it's a senior placement agent or whatever that looks like. I think that was my main driving point to do it.
Did you ever think about obstacles that would get in your way? Like it could be money, lack of knowledge, if there was, and not assuming you didn't have any knowledge, but it could be lack of knowledge, not knowing how, because I think that's a lot of the people today that prevent from starting something is they're trying to figure out the how, right? And maybe they're living on YouTube, and it's probably what I would have done back in 2008 if I was on YouTube and all that. I'd just be clicking in how to, and trying to figure out the how, and probably getting discouraged. And I think that's a lot of the people today, that they don't see, hey, I don't have the money, I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the opportunity, and they get stuck in the how. Did you process that at all, as far as like, how are you going to do it? Or did you just go out and venture to start doing it?
No, I definitely thought about how. I actually made my website and sat on it because I didn't know how. So I made the website and really just sat on it. I did have a mentor, obviously you. So I was sitting, I think when I first talked to you, I even had my website up for like probably over a month and had no idea what I was doing. So I was on Google trying to piecemeal together, like what are the ways of this business specifically. And so I sat there. So yeah, I was stuck. And then obviously the fear of going out and not knowing what I'm doing to try to figure out what I'm doing did put me like a standstill.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, audience, if you would drop down and put a comment about, here's the question I got. What's the biggest thing holding people back today? Is it fear, money, or uncertainty? And give me your feedback out there. Maybe, you already own a business and you kind of reflect back like, Brittney and myself in terms of just starting. What was holding you back before you got going? And maybe you're still in that season of your life and it's okay. It's okay. Just be honest with yourself. Get clarity where you are. You haven't started your business yet. And man, if I didn't have all this fear of, and the fear probably from a W-2 position would be, I've got the security of my paycheck coming in every week, every other week, once a month, whatever it is, your pay cycle. And if I walk away from that, man, that's all going to come to a crashing halt. I can speak to a long time about that is a, kind of false security because it's not always there. But I get it because it's the money you got to pay your mortgage, your rent, your car payment, all that stuff. So is it fear? Is it money? That's one thing I struggled with, I believe, for a number of years. Like, man, I would do a certain thing if I had the money. Man, if money would just fall out of the sky, if somebody would give me a loan, if somebody could teach me how to generate some extra cash, then I would be able to fund my business and whatever that business was. But I'm here to tell you, you don't need money to start a business. You really don't. And I probably heard that comment a number of years before it resonated within me, because every time I would hear that comment, Brittney, you don't need money to start a business, I'd be like, dude, that's stupid. What do you mean? I mean, how am I going to get that website? I mean, I remember when I first started my business, and if he's listening to it, I apologize. I won't say your name, but a friend back east, he heard I was starting a business. He was like, oh my gosh, man, you need a website. And I said, yeah, I sure do. And he gave me all these different things I need to include in my website. And then I got to the bottom line. The bottom line was $7,500 for the website. And I went, dude, I ain't got $7,500. And if I did, I wouldn't spend it all on a website. And I would encourage you guys not to do the same. Don't do that. Down in the pinned comment, if you guys would, what is the biggest thing holding people back? Is it fear, money, or uncertainty? And so, Brittney, I want to talk about just this internal battle, decision versus debate. So, ultimately, if you're going to be successful in anything in life, you've got to make a decision, right? You've got to cut off the other things that are going on in your life, the other options, the other avenues, the voices. You've got to cut those things off. But what I struggled with is for 10 years, I had this internal debate going on, okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow came and went, so I didn't do it, so I'm going to do it next week. Then I actually would start a few things, and then I would get discouraged because I didn't get immediate results, right? I didn't get results in 24 hours. I didn't get results in a week or something like that, which I think is kind of the most craziest thing in the world to think about, but that's what I thought about. So I think about our students sometimes when they take a little longer to get going in this business. They want immediate results. They want results today. And but talk about the internal battle. Did you have any internal battle, or did you just make a decision? And it sounds like you had clarity what you wanted to do and you went for it. But is that internal battle real? And if it is, how do we deal with it?
No, I definitely had an internal battle. I think even moving forward with like hiring someone, you essentially to help me with my business, had the internal battle about that, had the internal battle about am I good enough? Can I do this? Can I not do this? A lot of I'll do it tomorrow. I will call people tomorrow. I will figure out things tomorrow. And then a week would go by. So yeah, I had a lot of internal debate on, I think a lot of mine came down to probably fear of am I good enough to do this? Can I do this? I know I talk about this a lot on this channel, but I was significantly younger than everybody in the industry when I started. And that battle did not stop when I actually started my business and I put myself out there. The battle kept coming. And I think it still comes to this day to some degree. It's a lot quieter than it was when I first started, but the battle still is there.
Well, let's talk about the age factor, because it could be you thought you were too young. And I didn't start to be an entrepreneur until 2018. So I don't know, I'm pretty good at math. I think I was 49 or something like that, 47, 48, somewhere in that range, late 40s. You were early 20s. And I think that's one of the excuses that people do. I'm too young. I'm not as experienced. The flip side, I'm too old. I don't have the energy. I'm not at the place in my life I can learn something new, any of that kind of thing. But speak to those areas, Brittney, and maybe you can't speak to the age piece as far as being too old. Maybe I can get that piece. I don't know. But how'd you overcome feeling like you were too young to get started?
I think I found my strengths as to why I was young. So I don't have a family. I don't have kids. So I was able to really put a lot of time, effort, and energy. I was motivated. I didn't have, I wouldn't say I didn't have a lot to lose. Everybody has a lot to lose, but I think the fear of failure being so young was tough. But I also just like chimed into the fact like, okay, you're young. So what can you make that the strong suit? Like try to figure out how you can be the next generation of this industry, or like be able to change things. I had more time on my hands. I could work, nights, weekends, days with no obligation to do anything else besides like my husband. So, and I see a lot of people that I was seeing, I can't speak to the older side, but I can see the difference, like the different strengths. Like someone might have 20 more years of experience than me, but only have 10 hours a week to put in because they have 3 young kids. So there's like, that's what I kind of did, just chimed into what I thought my strong suits would be. And I definitely, still to this day, I like to be a sponge. So I never came off that I knew everything, but I was hoping, and it did work out, that I could tap into the fact that I am a sponge and I'm willing to learn, which I think if people have been doing it for 20 or 30 years, sometimes that flexibility goes away a little bit. So I was just trying to tap into what I thought could be a strength.
Yeah. And I think speak to that. I don't speak to that 20, 30 years experience, because I heard Peter Book say this a long time ago and it resonated within me. And it's like, a lot of times people say that they got 20 years experience and they think they have 20 years of experience, but sometimes they got every year being the same. So they got 1 year of experience, just repeated 20 years and 20 times over. And that's kind of resonate with me. I was kind of like, man, do I have 20, 25 years experience? Because, that's kind of level I've got in sales. And then when I want to start my business, I thought, oh my gosh, man, what am I going to do? And I thought about what you just mentioned about when you get older, you do have a lot more to lose, right? So fortunately, at the time I started, all our kids were older. We had grandkids. My wife was working at the time a little bit. She was an office manager of a doctor's office. She was part of a medical network group. She's been part of the medical industry 15 years. So she's phenomenal. She's not a doctor or a nurse or anything like that, but she'd be my go-to person for as like prescriptions. She knows everything about medication. I have no idea. I know zero. I got a headache, go get an Advil or Tylenol or something's about all I know. So, but I got thinking about, man, if I jump into this and I'm not successful, man, we're going to lose some things. Now, we didn't have a whole lot at the time, but nevertheless, it's going to put a strain on us, right? We could lose the car. We could, maybe have to downsize and move somewhere else or whatever it may be. And when we did this kind of thing, I went into it with a level of urgency. Like I had to make it work because I was going to lose something. And I think 2008, 2018, I was looking at it too casually. Like I was looking at, okay, I'd like to do it, but it didn't have any sense of urgency, no pull in that direction, right? Had a lot of pushback of, it probably ain't going to work. It's probably not for me. I probably won't be good at it, but it didn't have any pull. What I mean by pull is something that's pulling you forward, your vision, what you want to do in life, what's your passion. And when I went into it, man, I was like, okay, we're doing this thing. With my wife, we talked about it. She was all in agreement. Matter of fact, I think she was more excited than I was. And she was like, oh, you're going to be amazing at senior placement. And I'm like, okay, I think so. She goes, oh, man, you're going to kill it. I said, okay, baby, if I don't kill it, it's going to kill some things in our life, right? If I don't kill it, I'm going to be in the unemployment line or go looking for another job, whatever it may be. So the first month we did 3 move-ins. I mean, that might not be a whole lot. It might be a lot to some. It was a lot to us. It was $12,000 gross income, minus the taxes and all that stuff you got to take out. But it was like, man, that was cool. Can I duplicate it? And then I went down a little bit. I think I got down like 7 or 8 the next month or two. And then in December, because I started like in September and December, we had another big month. And then my favorite thing to tell you, in January, we didn't do hardly anything because my Januaries are typically not that good around where I live for some reason. And then, so a lot of those things came back to me. We had a rough month in January. And so I was kind of like, oh my gosh, man, is this the way it's going to be? Like we'll have a big month and then a terrible month, or, a really great month and then, where we are in January? Or is it on a downward spiral already? Am I going to fail? And so all these different things I was struggling with and processing. And I just remember being pulled toward that vision, pulled toward being the man of the house, going to do it. I felt like God was calling me to do, step out in faith and just do it. And I didn't have all the answers at the time. I really didn't. I mean, this was before Senior Full Academy, because out of what I did came to Senior Full Academy and all the other courses. So I was just kind of processing along, and I really had to substitute. I really had to get rid of the how and just keep pulling forward. So, but let's talk about that real quick, Brittney. As far as the how trap, I just think people, the how almost always appears after the decision. It's kind of like when I wanted to do this and I was talking to my wife and she said, just go for it. We made a decision. We really didn't process how. Okay, how are we going to do this? And let the audience know, you guys, if you don't know, I was working for a large AL community before I got started in senior placement. So I was not in a position to do what I would tell most people to do, is keep your current job, do this part-time, build it up. That'd be the smart way of going about doing it. I was, it'd be a conflict of interest. So I'd have got fired. So I had to make the decision. If I was going to sever the cord and do what I wanted to do, I had to do that. I just said, cut the cord, bam, get into senior placement. But Brittney, talk a little about the how. I mean, that's an important question, but I don't think it's a question we need to focus on so much at the beginning, because I feel like when people do, they get stuck. And I'll give you an example. I talked to a lot of people that, schedule that, click that link down below, schedule a consultation call with me, want to know about the senior placements too, want to know about all we're doing. And a number of people, I would say 50%, I go on a call with, and they want to know how. How can I get this done? How can I do it? And they start there versus starting with a decision that you're going to make. It's almost like Tony Robbins back in the day and, about burning the boats, going to the island, burning the boats. So you really got no point of return. You are where you are. Now make it work. And so people want to figure out the how before they decide if they're going to do it or not. And I think that's backwards. What do you think?
I agree. I think if you get too fixated on how to do something, and I think not only how, but how to do it perfectly, I think that's another reason why people get hung up. If there's lack of knowledge or lack of confidence, I think a lot of people want everything to be perfect. We talk about this all the time. Perfect website, perfect brand, perfect everything the second that they open a business. So you get stuck in all of that. So if you're trying to look at every little piece of how to run a business, you'll never start. You'll just stay exactly where you're at. Because the reality is, I don't know if you agree, Matt, but to learn how to do it, you have to do it. Like, it's almost like you're learning as you go. So you could sit here all day long, get on ChatGPT, get on, Google and try to figure out how to run a business, or even honestly, some of our students, they stay in that they have to know everything first before they even start. I mean, we advise our students to start out the gate immediately, because the only way you're really going to learn how to run a successful business is doing it and being a sponge and, getting better every single day, but not taking the action to start the business. You'll never have a chance to get better.
Definitely. Let's go through 2 laws I want to go through with you today, Brittney, a little bit. Basic laws. But the first one is law of belief, right? I mean, you really got to believe in what you're doing and what you want to pursue. Let me give you an example. Now, this is probably an example that's probably way before most people's time. This is Roger Bannister. Don't even know, never met the guy, obviously. This is back 1954. Brittney, this was even before I was born. So this is how far this goes back, right? But this guy broke the 4-minute mile. And he broke the 4-minute mile and at a time when obviously it had not been done before. Experts believed that was physically impossible for anybody to run a mile, 5,280 feet or 5,260 feet. I think it's 5,280 feet, I believe. Come on, somebody correct me in the comments. 5,280 feet, I believe it is. But anyway, running a full mile, 4 laps around the track. And experts will say it was physically impossible to do that under 4 minutes. This guy did it. And when he did it, Brittney, it's amazing. About a dozen runners did the exact same thing all within that year. He opened the door of belief. Like, people were probably not processing how, maybe they were, but they immediately focused on it's impossible. It's impossible to run a mile under 4 minutes. This guy did it. And then what it did was people were like, well, man, he did it. Guess what? I can do it too. So if you're out there in the audience, guess what? Brittney's done it. I've done it. We got countless students that have done it. Guess what? We broke the 4 minute mile. So you can do it too. Now, are there people that can't do it? Sure. I'm sure there's plenty of people, even though there's a dozen after the fact that ran the mile in less than 4 minutes, tried and failed. And they got 4 minutes and 30 seconds or whatever it was. So there's going to be plenty of those people. But what do you focus on? And so you got to have this law of belief. You got to believe in what you're doing, believe in yourself. Okay, we've got a comment here. Brittney says, Brittney, you're explaining the analysis by paralysis. When you get stuck on doing something perfect, you don't even start. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I think a lot of people in business, they start out with the analysis by paralysis. They want to analyze everything before they actually begin to start. So that's one thing. And then faith with before evidence. Now, I want to tell a story real quick, Brittney, on this. This was during my time, but I was probably, I think it was back in the 1990s. So if it was, I was an adult. But this was during Mike Tyson. How many remember Mike Tyson out there? I mean, a killer as far as boxing. I mean, evidently you just didn't want to get hit by Mike, right? I mean, Mike coined the phrase, everyone's got a plan till you get hit in the face, because he was just rock solid. Boom. But this guy here, Buster Douglas, and I don't even really remember. I remember him by name, but I love this story. Is he's training and all that kind of stuff. And the odds, let me pull the odds up here. Let's see. The odds of Buster Douglas winning back then was 42-1. He was a 42-1 underdog, right? And so this whole belief thing. Now, Buster Douglas was training. And unfortunately, his mom got sick during the time of training. And several days before he would fight Mike Tyson, his mom died. Now get that. You're training for one of the biggest events of your life and your mom dies. But one thing his mom told him before she died is that, son, you're going to beat Mike Tyson. And he held on to that. And I don't have time to show you. Go back and watch the video. It's a really incredible video of this particular fight. Mike Tyson was beating him. Bang, 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 bang. And it looked like, oh my gosh. I mean, Buster Douglas is done. And he didn't give up. He had that belief and he came back swinging. And then you see the picture right there, what he did to Mike Tyson. So that's kind of the law of belief. You got to believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing. And when you do, you'll be able to be successful and you'll be able to achieve something that maybe you didn't think that was possible, like the Buster Douglas thing. And I'm sure 42-1 underdog, many people. I mean, if they were betting back then, which I don't know if they were or not, but in Vegas and all that stuff, I mean, I know it's prevalent today in 2026, but I'm sure people were laying all kinds of money on Mike Tyson and knock him out. What I bet you the bet was this, not that Mike Tyson would win. What round would he win? Would he knock him out in the first 40 seconds? Would he knock him out later on the first round, second round? What would it be? Buster Douglas had no opportunity, and all of a sudden he did, until he did, right? So I just want to bring that up to you. So let's talk about a little bit about the law of action, Brittney. I mean, because movement does create momentum. And I think a lot of people in that comment, we got analysis by paralysis, so true, because a lot of people want all the facts, want all the information before they actually do anything. And information and facts doesn't create momentum. Now, you might feel like you are moving forward, but you're really not. You've got to actually get moving. So the law of action is I've got to get out there and do the very thing that I've learned. I would encourage you guys to learn incrementally. Like if you're going through the Senior Placement Institute, which Brittney is the 42 modules, the most comprehensive senior placement course in the country, co-taught by Brittney and myself, right? So incredible course. But we always encourage people to watch a video, take notes, and then take action. Don't watch the video, take a few notes, go on to the next one. And treat it like maybe your favorite Netflix show and just have some popcorn and watching the videos. You've got to take the action. Action is where the things take place, right? And that's where momentum happens. But there's various reasons why people don't want to take action. Brittney, what are some of those reasons that come to your mind why people don't want to take action? They want to constantly learn, but they don't want to get out and do the work. Why is that?
I think mostly it's, if I would say, fear. A lot of it, I know, like in a lot of industries, picking up the phone or booking the meeting or getting yourself out there, I think it's like paralyzing. So a lot of them just don't make the move. I do think also some people make a lot of excuses as to why they don't have time. So they look at their daily, and I think me and you have done this before. How many minutes can you spend, on TikTok or scrolling your phone or on Facebook or whatever? And it adds up really quick. So I hear a lot of, and I see a lot of, that they don't have any time, but they have not reevaluated their daily and what they're spending their time on. So I think a lot of factors, but I think fear and time, the excuse of not having time, is pretty prevalent.
Yeah, I like the whole momentum piece because you get some wins, but the momentum actually creates confidence. And I think people get it wrong, and maybe I got it wrong years ago. I always thought information was power, right? It's really not. It doesn't do anything for you. Proof is, when you get off our channel today, stay on there for a long time. I appreciate it. But get off our channel, go watch about 5 other videos. Just watch instructional videos, motivational videos, and just listen to those videos. And what I want you to do is, after you watch all 5 of those videos, do absolutely nothing. Do absolutely nothing. I just want you to hear the information and do absolutely nothing, and you'll learn the information is not power. It's actually what you do after the information, what you do with the information. So you take it in, you internalize it, and you do something with it. And that's where you start to get the momentum going, and the momentum gives you confidence, right? It gives you, because in the movement piece, when you're out doing the work, whatever that work is, with senior placement or whatever business you're doing the work. That's when you really face real life situations. You face all kinds of obstacles, but you also get a whole lot of, hopefully, wins, some sales, some contracts. You're going to get some things over here that's going to help you. And you're going to learn so much along the way. Like, what is the right way to handle this? I do this in our own business. Like, there's certain things that I've done, Brittney, over the years, that when I measure those activities, some activities create all kinds of success or wins or momentum or whatever you want to categorize it. And then I can go all the way down to the bottom. There's some that I was doing wasn't moving the needle at all in my favor. In those particular activities, I have greatly minimized or squashed and diminished those things because they're not moving the needle in my favor at all. And that's just a routine. So a lot of times people just want to get the momentum, get the wins before they actually do something with the information. And then also I see too, when people have the information, they start doing something. And let's say you start facing the obstacles first, the rejection and all that stuff and all the objections you're trying to overcome. And you're kind of going down that road, which very easily could happen. It's, they get discouraged and they start thinking it doesn't work for them. The process doesn't work, whatever. Again, Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile, right? Brittney's doing it. I'm doing it. I just saw Shauna this morning doing it. Angie's doing it. There's a bunch of people that are doing it. So look at the person that's doing it and say, I can do it too. And have that belief in yourself. Man, I don't know. Brittney, put a bow on this thing. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's, if you're thinking about owning a business, growing in a, as an entrepreneur and, starting something for yourself. I think about you, Brittney, you come a long ways doing great things. You're sitting in your home office. I'm sitting in my home office right now, and I wouldn't trade this for anything. And I just didn't know what I didn't know back in before 2018. And, I had to make that decision. And I was thinking about this the other day on the patio. I get to do a lot of time on the patio and when the weather's nice. And I got thinking about, for some reason, like, where would my life be if I didn't make that decision back in 2018? I don't know. Maybe I'd be doing something, and I'm sure I'd hopefully still be alive and doing a lot of different things, but it probably wouldn't be at the level it is today if I didn't make that decision back in 2018. And anyway, put a bow on it, Brittney. Last thought.
Yeah, definitely don't take it for granted. Of course, being a business owner, small can be, all the things. Probably the most challenging thing you'll ever do, but I think we can agree the most rewarding thing I've ever done. It's like your baby. It's like really something that you just take to heart. And if you put your all into it, it will give you everything plus 10 back. So I think just making sure that you don't get stuck. And I know you talk about this all the time, looking 10 years ago, you probably wish now you would have started 10 years early. All the small business owners that I talk to always says they should have started early. If they're successful and enjoy what they do, all of them say, what was I waiting for? Should have done this when I was 15. I hear from me being young, the people in the industry say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have started it when I was 22, when I was 23, like who knows where I could be by now. So I think to sum it up, like don't get, stopped by fear or the fear of failure. I keep seeing this thing and I hear it all the time is the days are going to pass either way. So go ahead and take a shot at it. I mean, the days are still going to go by whether you do it or not. So what is there to lose? Try it and see if it works.
I love it. I love it, Brittney. Appreciate it so much, you guys. Appreciate you guys out there as well. And we just want to encourage you guys, if you're thinking about starting a business, do it. And if you're unsure about what business that you want to do, check the senior placement business out. It's a great opportunity for you. Possibly, if you like this kind of thing, it's what works for us. You can drop down, click some links, schedule a call, all that good stuff. So until next time, God bless.